Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. Welcome to a Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got a good show lined up. We'll have JC and Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Edgar will give us all the rundown of the Gators heading to the Las Vegas Bowl and also what's going on with the transfer portal and all that good stuff. Good weekend of football. If you missed it, we'll recap it right now. JC, you're on the Titan MR hotline. What's up, my man?
I'm happy for the 4 teams that made the college football playoff. I think the committee went with the teams most deserving based on resume as opposed to maybe the 4 best. It's okay. It doesn't matter to me. I think the teams that made it deserved it. They simply played their way in. Happy about that. Happy to hear the Gators going out west. I think it'd be a great trip for fans if they want to make it a holiday special. It's a long way to go, but man, once you get there, you really have a lot of stimulation, so to speak. So QB, the weekend was good. I'm not surprised by the college football selections, and I'm really not surprised by the results of the games either.
No, when you go back to the 14 playoff, here's what I like to tell people, and maybe I'm in the minority here, but I cannot wait till there's 12 teams because, football is the only sport. College football is the only sport where they try to get the 4 best teams in, right? Or that's what they say, or 4 deserving. I mean, think about the NFL playoffs. Sometimes, you look at the Bengals last year. They barely got into the playoffs. They go to the Super Bowl. Ole Miss in baseball last year luckily got into the field, and they win the national title. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm in the minority, I guess. I have no problem with what they did. Do I think TCU's better than Alabama? No, but Alabama lost twice. And I don't care who they lost to. They lost twice. I feel horrible for TCU. TCU should have won their conference championship. You always go back and you go, what were the coaches thinking? Everybody does it for every team. And my goodness, they had the ball on the 1-inch, 2-inch line and had multiple shots and never let their quarterback run the ball, who played unbelievable football.
Stunning that Sonny Dykes wouldn't just say, hey, here's my best player. Let's go ahead and win it with him. You're right. I don't follow the thinking there. I really don't. I think TCU's had a magical year. I don't know if that magic's going to translate into a good game against Michigan. I would expect it to, but QB, would anybody be surprised if Michigan just dominated the game? I don't know. I think it's surprising to me that, like you say, what goes through their minds when it's crunch time inside of 2 minutes on both sides of the half, or at the end of both halves. And I just don't know how you don't give the ball to your best player in any game-winning situation. I don't know how you don't.
Yeah, it's a shame that they lost that game, but they're in the playoffs.
They are. Listen, QB, if they had won, they'd be in the same spot, I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I feel like Georgia's the best team in America, clearly, and they kind of got screwed in this whole deal, if you ask me. I think they should be playing TCU because I think TCU is not nearly as good as Ohio State. Now, I know Ohio State laid an egg against Michigan, but the thing that Ohio State does is they scare you with their talent and with their explosiveness. So I feel like Georgia got screwed in the whole deal.
I don't argue with that. I think you're right. But I also think this. I think Michigan exposed Ohio State kind of like the way Alabama did in 2020. Their front seven and defensively is vulnerable, and Georgia's going to exploit that. I don't really think Kirby's too worried about it. I know that you're thinking on paper, Ohio State's clearly a much more imposing opponent. But once you get over the Buckeye helmet, and once you get over the dot the I and all that crap, they're just a bunch of guys playing football. And they're going to game plan against that team. And I think they're going to dominate Ohio State. I don't see either underdog covering in the semifinals. I think you're going to see a Michigan and Georgia cruise to wins. The games will be emotional and close at the beginning, but as the game wears on and as the teams settle in, I think Michigan and Georgia will cruise. And I think what we'll see is a pretty exciting final game, but I still think Georgia is clearing away. I don't see any reason why Michigan is any better than they were last year. And even though I don't think Georgia is as good as they were last year defensively, I still think they'll be plenty good enough to beat up on Michigan and LA. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. Dan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, I'd rather watch the team's band at halftime than the Dr. Pepper football. It's not a toss band, Dan. It's a two-hand chest pass. They got to change the rules of that damn thing. It drives me insane.
Oh, don't watch it, QB. If you watch it, go crazy like that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Daryl says on Facebook Live, Shane, what do you think about the players that hit the portal so far? McMillan shocked to me. I thought he would have been an impact for us next year. I'm not surprised at all. I mean, Gator fans need to realize I don't care what 24/7 Sports has said in the past about the rankings, and I said it before the season. I do not think our talent level from top to bottom on this team is worth a crap, and it's not taking any shots at any of the players, but Billy Napier and his staff, the players that were that made the biggest impact on this year's team and were the best players were players he either signed or brought in from the transfer portal. So you have to trust their evaluation process. That's what I'm going to do. And I think you're going to continue seeing more and more going to the portal, and I have no problem with that.
Well, I would say Ventrell Miller was probably the best player defensively on the team, but I think you're right. Overall, the roster was made better with what he was able to bring, and I certainly think he's going to have plenty of guys to look at and evaluate in a short period of time to get here in December. And then, of course, we do it all over again in February. So the roster is going to be wholesale changed. It just is. It's going to have to be. And I certainly think that it's going to be a better roster than what we were presented with this year. And that's just the way it fell. I mean, remember when he got here, QB, he didn't have a whole lot of time to construct what I think he wanted. And so because of that, he may have been somewhat constricted in what he was hoping to get, but he was able to pull some players from Louisiana to come with him. I think Osiris was one of the better players on the team, of course, and now he's going to go pro. And I certainly think he's got his list. He may not get everybody he wants, but he's going to get plenty. And I think you're going to see quite a change here in the next month and a half.
Yeah, and the biggest is getting the right quarterback. And there's a lot of rumors out there about different guys. There's no way we get Drake May. I think Drake May is going to end up at Alabama. He was committed to Alabama out of high school, ended up going to North Carolina. I still think he will be Alabama's quarterback next year. Got a text on the Titan More text line. I don't know who it's from. It says, Shane, have you seen the video of Deion speaking at Colorado? He's an old school disciplinarian. No hats, no earrings, no jewelry. Everybody looks the same. It's interesting that he says that while he's wearing a hat.
Yeah. Well, Deion can do what he wants to, but he's got his rules, QB. I don't think Colorado. I think Colorado.
He's got rules, but A, he wears jewelry.
Yeah.
And B, he had a hat on while he was talking to the kids saying they can't wear a hat.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen. When you become a Hall of Fame coach, you can do what you want to. But hey, QB, here's the thing: Colorado.
Being a Hall of Fame coach.
Well, no. I mean, when you become a Hall of Famer and then a coach, you can do what you want to do. And QB, listen, Colorado quietly also won the weekend, along with TCU, Michigan, Georgia, and Ohio State, because this is a charismatic hire that's going to elevate that program. Kids are already doing things. They're basically paying attention to a school that they probably wouldn't have even thought about in their sleep. And now look at what they've done to bring him in. And I don't even know if they have the budget to pay him yet. Apparently, Colorado is not flush with a lot of cash. Yeah. But I don't think I don't think he's worried about the money. I think he wants to build something much like what he did at Jackson State. You have to remember, and we both had a friend on the former Jackson State staff, that program was in the toilet. And look at what this guy's done in just a short period of time. He's gotten 4-star players to actually go there. So I think Colorado is ripe for the picking now. And I believe with the recruiting base in Texas and in California that they used to have, they can reinvigorate that. I would not be surprised to see Colorado a factor in that conference here in the next 2 to 3 years.
These people are killing him on Facebook. He says, Deion never went to class. Do what I say, not what I do. That's right. What Deion learned at FSU.
Well, but you know what he did? He did more things on the field than anybody can. I mean, he's one of the greatest of all time. And to me, he was probably the greatest athlete I ever watched. I mean, he's unbelievable at what he could do. So, yeah.
He was definitely a good one. There's no question. But it'll be interesting to see what Colorado does.
I think
are you in the market to buy or sell? Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Doreen Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parish, will provide you with fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Speaking with JC on the Titan MR hotline, and we'll have Edgar Thompson join us from the Orlando Sentinel, get his thoughts. JC, I want to talk about the Heisman Trophy. I was hearing all these people, you know, Caleb Williams lost the game. Max Duggan lost the game. Okay. No. Last time I checked, it's about your body of work and what you've done throughout the entire year. The best player in college football. Okay. Am I wrong about that or right?
You're right.
Okay. Because last time I checked, Tim Tebow won the Heisman Trophy on a 7-5 football team. Johnny Manziel was not on a winning. I mean, he won games, but he wasn't playing for championships. And I understand people's arguments about Stetson Bennett. I've been a Stetson Bennett fan since he came off the bench 2 years ago against Arkansas. But he's not the best player in football. I think there's 4 guys that are deserving of the Heisman Trophy. Now, you can look at it however you want. I would think it would be Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, Max Duggan, and Drake May. I think those 4 players are the best players in college football that have done the most for their football team. Am I crazy to think that?
No, because without those players, neither of those teams, including Alabama, are anywhere near where they are. And listen, QB, I mean, Caleb Williams, last time I checked, does not play defense, okay? And I don't know what you expect from a kid to basically on one leg do for your lousy team that can't play defense and tackle anybody, you know? So, I mean, they don't even sniff the Pac-12 championship game without Caleb Williams, regardless of who their coach is. They could have had Vince Lombardi walking up and down the sideline. Those guys were undermanned and undersized on defense. It was exposed twice by the same team that knew how to attack them. And there was nothing surprising about it, except for the fact that maybe they were up 2 touchdowns early in the game. But once Utah settled in, we all knew what was coming, and it came. And that's what I think is going to happen with Ohio State and Georgia. I think Ohio State could clearly jump out of the gates, but Georgia's going to settle into the game and beat the hell out of them because of Ohio State's lack of ability, I think, up front on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. So Caleb Williams is clearly, to me, I mean, if I were voting, and I used to have a vote, and I voted for the eventual winner the year I had the vote. His name was Charlie Ward. But Eric Rett was on my ballot too, by the way. But I would put Caleb Williams absolutely the Heisman, because, again, Southern Cal doesn't even sniff 7 wins without that guy.
Yeah, Hendon, I left out Hendon Hooker too. And the difference, but here's the thing. With Hendon Hooker, Caleb Williams, and Drake May, if they aren't on their football teams, they're probably all barely 500, because those three teams had horrible defenses. So it drove me crazy when I was flipping around the channels and listening to stuff, how people like, well, Caleb Williams is out of it because he lost the game. What does that have anything to do about being the best player in college football? And I'm just using him as an example because it's not about did your team win and move on to the playoffs, because there's so many Heisman winners that were on not very good football teams. So anyway, I just wanted to get your thoughts. Maybe I'm crazy.
I'm right in the driver's seat with you there on that topic, because again, we've said it. These players are special talents. I mean, they are rare. They are the kind that changes teams' fortunes and games when really nobody else could. And And I certainly think Hendon Hooker deserves all the recognition he should deservedly get. Because again, without him, what does Tennessee got? What do they have?
Yeah.
And so I agree with you.
John says on Facebook Live, put Caleb Williams on Florida, they win 10 games. USC defense might be worse than we are. They are. I'm telling you right now, if you were to put Caleb Williams or Hendon Hooker or Drake May, we would have won 9 or 10 games. Guaranteed.
You definitely wouldn't have lost. You definitely wouldn't have lost to teams like Kentucky and Vanderbilt. I agree with that because those guys can single-handedly win you a football game, QB.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, like I told you, if we have. Well, I'm not even going to go there. We'll leave that for another day.
Okay.
JC, what stood out to you in the National Football League yesterday?
Well, just a tremendous day yesterday. I think it's shocking, but did you know, QB, that the Cincinnati Bengals have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs not once, not twice, but they have beaten Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs 3 times in this calendar year. They did it twice at the beginning of the year, and they just did it yesterday. The Cincinnati Bengals are a team you better keep your eye on because they will win their division, get a home playoff game, and I don't think it matters where they play on the road. They did it last year. They could do it again. I think Buffalo won the day and didn't even have to play football because they got done on Thursday night. And now they are once again the top seed in the AFC because of Kansas City's loss to Cincinnati. And I don't think there was anything surprising necessarily in the NFC. I feel terrible for the 49ers losing their quarterback. But how about the job that Mr. Irrelevant did, Brock Purdy, coming in and throwing 2 touchdown passes? And this guy got 0 reps when Trey Lance was wasting everybody's time at the quarterback position at the beginning of the year for the 49ers. The Niners are the best defense in the NFL, if you ask me, when they're healthy. And even with Brock Purdy, they're going to be scary. So I would suggest watching them closely as well. Dallas, since Dak Prescott has come back, has led the league in scoring. They've got a cake schedule. They play the AFC South, and they've got the Houston Texans coming up, followed by Jacksonville, and they've got one more softie to play. They could easily be a team that travels to Tampa to play in the playoff game, 4 games better on the record than the Buccaneers that have to play on the road if Tampa were to win the NFC South. And I think Dallas is a team you better watch out for too if they are healthy because they can run the football. So those are some of the takeaways I took yesterday. I feel bad for the Jets and Mike White. I think Mike White played well enough for them to win at Minnesota. And I don't know if Minnesota is really as good as their record. I'm not sure about that either.
They're not. I mean, somehow the Jets game was on, and they had the ball first and goal from the 2-yard line to win the game and can't get in.
I know.
So
don't run. They don't run.
I think there's 3 teams in the AFC. There's now 3 teams in the NFC, and I think those are the ones that they'll be the ones in the Super Bowl. You got the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Niners, and you got the Bengals, the Bills, and the Chiefs. I think
right now
those are your teams.
I think you're right. Yes, I think the Niners, even with Brock Purdy, can be very dangerous. They'll be a home team in the first round because they'll win their division. And look, Buffalo at home is virtually unbeatable, but Cincinnati is a team that does not seem to care where they play. They have played excellent December and January football in this league here recently. And with Burrow, if he's healthy and they get Mixon running the ball, defensively they're holding up. Keep your eye on Cincinnati.
Nat has a Facebook Live comment here brought to you by Mellon Law. Says Colorado state law says the university can only pay the coach $1 million a year. That may be the case, but then they'll have some other fund through a booster club or something.
Right. That's just on payroll. But he'll have a show. He'll have whatever he needs. He's going to make something like 3.5. But again, it's not about the money for Dion, I don't think. I was kind of surprised he said yes to that school, to tell you the truth. But I think he sees potential there, much like what he saw at Jackson State. And that potential to him is worth exploring and trying to pull. So I just think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to get a bunch of players to get excited about coming to play for that guy. And, they used to be pretty good in the day. So look for Colorado to improve. They can only get better. I mean, it's been a pathetic program here in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it can't get any worse. Greg says here, if AR's draft stock is dropping and he decides to stay in there, any chance Billy tells him to hit the portal? He's not going to be a Gator next year, folks. He's going pro. Let's leave it at that. He will be pro. So, who do you think the Gators are going to get at their quarterback position, JC?
Oh, gosh, man. I would love to see if these kids that didn't play this year, like Jack Miller, are worthy. I mean, they're on the roster, but I have no idea what they're capable of. But as far as off the transfer portal goes, and by the way, before I go into that, Scott Satterfield looks like he's going to go to Cincinnati. He's the Louisville coach. They're going to play each other in their bowl game. Looks like he's going to go to Cincinnati now. But as far as Florida's quarterback situation, man, that is going to be interesting because QB, I don't know off the top of my head who's available just yet in the portal. Do you know? Do you have any names?
Well, it all goes official today, so you can pull it up online. I don't know how quickly guys can put their name in there, but I mean, I have some thoughts on some people. But we'll see. But we will. Here's the problem, and this is what's going to drive Gator people crazy. Because, like Drake May, I firmly believe Drake May is going to be the Alabama quarterback next year. There are reports, I've heard it from multiple reliable sources, that Alabama's offered him, I think, $2 to $3 million to be their quarterback.
Wow.
And then, but the Gator fans are, why don't we pay him $5 million? Well, he wants to go where he can win immediately. Not saying Gators aren't going to win immediately next year. We're going to change our roster to do that. But you're going to step into a good situation there. That's why I think, we're going to be in the hunt for some, I don't want to say lower tier, but some really good players that people may not have heard of, but are good, solid quarterbacks that can win us games immediately.
Yeah, and I mean, I sure hope so. It feels like it's been a long time, QB, since we've had a trigger guy. That is
well, it was 2 years ago, Kyle Trask.
Well, Kyle Trask. Okay, sorry about that. You're right, but geez, that seemed to be so fast. He was in and he was out. It didn't seem like he was here very long, right? I mean, he was here long, but he only played a short period of time.
About 2 years. He got about 2 years in.
Yeah, I think we're gonna, once we get some names out there. I will tell you this though, Drake May, for all his excellence, really didn't have a very good last couple of weeks. The game.
I would take him. I would take him as the number one overall pick in a heartbeat.
Oh, I know you would. But they really stumbled.
And so would every freaking coach out there.
Probably, yeah. Now, I mean, I'm not denying that. Of course, he's been special, and Carolina has had a great year offensively outside of the last couple of weeks. But I think it's going to be fun to watch. It's almost like watching free agency in the NFL. Who's gonna go where, and that's a tough question. The Texas quarterback, I know Hudson Card, the reserve quarterback that Texas had. Mm-hmm. He's got some capability. I know he's in the portal, but I don't know what he's interested in doing.
Here's it's not what he's interested. He's looking for the best place for him to go play. This is a text from Ryan on the Titan MR text line. Good morning, gents. Shane, some of these irrational Gator fans have been on you all year for honestly assessing AR's inability to be a consistent, accurate passer. Well, all they had to do was watch a few minutes of Purdue's QB dropping dimes all over Michigan to see how an accurate passer can elevate mediocre talent to be competitive. The game was way closer than the final score, and it was mainly due to the QB and the one receiver who remind me a lot of Pearsall. I'd gladly take either of those cats if they wanted to transfer to Florida. Mm-hmm. Actually, their quarterback, the Purdue quarterback, was a walk-on a couple of years ago. I think he's out of eligibility. He's been playing Aiden O'Connell or something like his name. I can't remember.
O'Connell. That's his name. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's some quarterbacks that are going to be in the portal that hopefully we can get our hands on immediately.
Well, I mean, you've got also, you've got this Rashada kid coming in all likelihood, and then
here's the thing. I still believe in my thoughts when I stated that Billy will not have the roster the way he wants it until year 3. but that doesn't mean we have to wait till year 3 to win. We have got to win 9 games minimum next year, JC. It's must. And so that means you have got they are going to go find a quarterback that has thrown for a ton of yards in his career, that is a productive player. They have to find that guy in the portal.
Yeah.
They have to. It's imperative. It's imperative.
Well,
John says, why did Drake May leave Alabama again? He didn't leave. He committed to them. He's a legacy at North Carolina. Dad played quarterback there. All his brothers played there. He had one brother that actually played baseball at Florida. Comes from a Tar Heel family.
You could get that DJ. You could get the DJ ukulele guy from Clemson. He's in the portal.
No, dude, I'm telling you right now, JC, if he shows up on campus, I am out of here. I'm done.
Oh God! Well, hey, he's another name in the portal, bro.
Yeah, I'll be anxious to see who the hell wants him. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you right now, if Dabo had played the Cade Klubnik or whatever his name is,
that's his name.
They would have been in the playoffs, dude. That dude can play.
He's a player.
Night and day.
Day.
Every time he went into the game, this year, it was a totally different football team. So,
yeah.
Van Der says Shane AR is not Superman. He's the quarterback for Florida. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Don't have any idea what that's supposed to mean. Okay, here's a text that just came in from a anonymous texter on the Titan MR text line. The Pratt kid from Tulane looked pretty impressive on Saturday. Yes, he's a Florida kid.
Yeah,
he's probably on their radar, and he's a very, very good quarterback.
He's
a really good player.
Where did he come from in Florida, QB? Where's this kid from?
I want to say, I don't know right off. I want to say he went to high school in the Fort Lauderdale area, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah,
but he's a big, strong kid who can move around, extremely accurate.
I mean, with Billy's connections in Louisiana, wouldn't you think that's a real odds-on favorite potentially if he wants to leave Tulane?
Well, yeah, but for all we know, Notre Dame may want him. You know, it's not. Yeah. That's what we as fans have to realize. The Gators aren't the only people that can have access to that portal.
Oh yeah,
you know,
I know.
Every school in America does. So
I mean,
then it's up to that kid where he wants to go.
He was something. Michael Pratt is his name, and what a year he's had for those guys. What a year those guys had, man. Playing in the Cotton Bowl now. It's unbelievable for a program like that. Dude, Tulane, you can go to New Orleans and not even know where Tulane is. You won't even find a Tulane building. Like, where is campus here? I think it's on St. Charles Avenue. I mean, it's just an obscure place. It's a great school, great medical school, so forth. But football, man, you got to – they have had a Hall of Fame year for that school. Good for them.
John says on Facebook, brought to you by Mellon Law, QB, tell your Twitter followers that we don't want DJ from Clemson. I maybe we need to buy a billboard, put that up, because we do not. Trust me, we do not.
Oh my
okay,
God.
So Robert says Pratt is from Deerfield Beach.
There you go. That's down there by Fort Lauderdale. Yeah.
I know. I mean, he's been a good player there. I don't know if he's been there. I think he started as a true freshman 2 years ago. He probably has 2 or 3 years of eligibility left. So it's a possibility.
Dude, he had 400 yards passing and 4 touchdowns the other day. 400 yards, man. I mean, he's the kind of guy you would get excited about, I think.
Absolutely. Andy says Klubnik's only bad outing was against Notre Dame when they put him in down 14 on the 10-yard line.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, well, that's a bad situation to put a guy
freshman.
in. So.
True freshman. He's going to be there for the next 2 years. He's going to be tremendous.
Yes, he will. So it's just a shame because Clemson. You think about this, JC.
Yeah.
If Clemson and North Carolina had not lost their last regular season games,
right,
the winner of that game obviously was Clemson. They would be in the 14 playoff. They would have been put in.
South Carolina.
Think about this. South Carolina knocked Tennessee and in back-to-back weeks knocked Tennessee and Clemson out of the playoffs. Think about that.
Yeah, think about it, and think about what they were coming off of, like 8 turnover performance against the Florida Gators. It came back and sent 2 teams postseason dreams right down the river and played out of their minds with a quarterback that didn't know what he was doing here at the Swamp. What a turnaround for them. And they're going to be packing the Gator Bowl, dude. They will have 50,000, well, they'll have 20 to 30,000 fans down here in Jacksonville for South Carolina. Good for them.
Yeah. Greg says, breaking news, Florida's picking up Sims and ukulele in the portal. Look, I'm not one who likes to question coaches and stuff like that because I know how hard it is to coach. But if that happens, oh, dear Lord. Dear Lord.
We'll have a great offseason. Look, don't worry, folks. He knows what he's doing. This guy, in my mind, a great coach has to do one of 3 things great. A successful coach has to do one of 3 things great. And that is A, establish culture, or recruit, or scheme. It's one of those 3 things, in my opinion. And Billy, I think, got one of those at least down. And I don't know which one it is
I
yet.
think he has all of them. I think he has them all down.
Then you should expect championships at Florida. So
yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
But they got to go get that QB. They got to find them somewhere.
Well, you got to trust his recruiting. You got to trust it.
Yep. All right, JC, good stuff as always on our Peachland Dental weekend picks.
Oh my God, bloodbath!
I think you destroyed me.
Bloodbath. 8-2 for me, 4-6 for you. Finished at 88-72 and 76-84. But we'll do the bowl games and see how those go out. Those are kind of coin flips until we get to the good games. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. We're going to take a quick time out here. We're going to come back. We'll be joined by Orlando Sentinel's beat writer, Edgar Thompson. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
Time to pay the bills, and we appreciate all these great sponsors. Our premium sponsors: Crime Prevention Security, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, Comfort Temp, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Odra, Doreen Weeby Realtor. Our touchdown sponsors: Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills, MB Listing, McDonald's Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Aver & Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker Sporting Goods, Silver Cube.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Let's go to the Titan MR hotline. We're joined by Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Good morning, Edgar. How are you?
I'm well, Shane. What are you up to, man?
Oh, just, living the dream. Got a lot of questions for you here, Edgar. I want to get to the
busy week.
Were you okay? Were you okay with the 14 playoff, the way it worked out, the way they decided?
Yeah. Saban's argument was interesting, but kind of funny because he doesn't usually get out and promote his program like that, and certainly doesn't talk about betting lines or whatever. He's like, who would you bet? Who would have to be the favored team in these matchups? And Bama probably would be the favorite in every matchup, but Georgia. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, they lost 2 games. Ohio State lost 1. They almost lost some others. Alabama, what was really their great wins? It was Ohio State beating Penn State a better win than then Alabama beating Ole Miss and Mississippi State. So I don't know, man. But I'm glad that TCU's got in.
Yeah, I'm glad they got into it. It was heartbreaking the way they lost that game. Why they didn't give the ball to their best player who played his ass off. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody compete as hard as that quarterback did. It was fun to watch.
It's incredible. So and sorry, I got momentarily distracted there. Somebody texted me from my family. But anyway, I watched Cam Rising. In fact, I can't stand all these night football games. I got to cover them, fine. If I'm doing my job, fine. I'm just not staying up till 1 a.m. to watch a football game or anything. Not doing it. So I went to bed and taped the second half of the USC-Utah game and watched it like 6:30 in the morning Saturday. Cam Rising, I enjoyed watching in the swamp. But, man, that kid just competes, man. He just plays. Mm-hmm. He's a gamer. And he's completing these intermediate throws into fairly tight windows. Not the prettiest ball you've ever seen every time. But, man, he's accurate, and he runs hard. And that hit he took, man. And he's just jumping up, grabbing his helmet, like, bring it on. He doesn't care. And then you get Duggan the next day just running with just ferocity and determination and just carrying that team. And I know we talk about Anthony on here a lot, but it's like, man, if he ran and played with that kind of competitiveness, not saying he's not a competitor, I'm not questioning that, but it's like it doesn't like show itself like it does with those 2 guys. And he's more talented than him athletically. He's bigger, faster, stronger, better arm, everything. So, I mean, that was my takeaway from those 2 games is like, man, those guys are competitors. I don't leave Florida I didn't leave this season with Florida going, my God, Anthony is laid on the line every game. Yeah, would have been nice to have seen and seen what he could have done.
Yeah, you're right. That's what I tweeted. I mean, they compete, and your teams feed off of that. Andy has a question for you on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Edgar, have you heard any update on Jack Miller's status? He seems to be our Vegas Bowl starter.
I mean, his thumb, which he had surgery on in mid-August, I don't know what's going on with that. It just seems like it didn't heal properly. I don't know whether he had a setback. It could be Kyle Engel. I mean, you would think it'd be Jack Miller if Anthony declares, which, I mean, we've all heard that he's gone. I mean, I heard Friday he's like in Houston training. I don't know if it's true. The rumors flying everywhere. UF likes to announce these things on its own clock. They like to put graphics out. They want Anthony to thank Gator Nation. I totally respect that and the kid's process. But it's just like, let's just move on at this point. I mean, right? If he's leaving, what are we waiting for? And they practice on Thursday, first practice. And I don't expect Anthony to be taking snaps, but we'll see. And then it'll be Jack Miller or Kyle Engel. That's all they have now after the Jalen situation. Max Brown. I mean, it's first-year freshman who's probably real raw.
Well, I mean, I would think that if Jack Miller can't go, I have a feeling they'll start Max Brown.
Really?
Being a scholarship. Yeah, I do. I do think that. Okay. I could be wrong, but we'll find out.
Okay. I mean, I think Kyle Engel, from everything I hear, knows the offense pretty well and things like that. Max Brown's like 18-year-old guy learning a college system, and Engel's been here 3 years. I'm not saying that he's better. I'm just saying he might run the operation better is all I'm saying.
No, I do agree with that. But with Max Brown being a scholarship athlete who they brought in here, and I see what he can do because the game means nothing. Whereas Kyle has graduated. This is his last time he'll be a Gator. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe we'll find some more information. Brent says, Shane, have you ever had a thumb injury? Yes, I shattered my thumb. I was in a cast for 8 weeks. So it depends on what severity to the thumb you have. But I did it the last game of the year when I was with the Bears. And so since it being my throwing hand, they set it and put me in a cast for 8 weeks to make sure I had my grip pressure or whatever all that stuff is.
How long does it take to recover?
I don't even remember. Quite honestly, they kept me, since it was my throwing hand. They kept me in a cast longer than you're supposed to. But since it was the all season, I was in no hurry to come back. It was literally the last game of the year. It just screwed up my entire all season playing golf. I couldn't play. I was miserable. So the Heisman Trophy, Edgar, I would like to know. I know you can't tell us who you voted for, but I have a problem.
Thanks for telling me.
I thought maybe you can. I don't know. I have a problem with these people that go on TV and say, I can't vote for Caleb Williams because he lost his last game and his team's not playing in the Final Four. Or I don't buy that, because there's so many Heisman winners in the past that didn't play for championships or didn't play in a playoff system. They were the best players in America. Tim Tebow, 7-5 team. Johnny Manziel, when he won it. I mean, you can go on and on and on. I feel like, and I said it earlier to JC, and I know it's become a quarterback award, but the best players in America, their teams wouldn't be great if they weren't on their team. I said it's Hendon Hooker, it's Caleb Williams, it's Drake May, it's Bryce Young, and then I had one more.
Max.
I can't even remember who it is now.
Max from TCU, man.
Oh, yeah, Max. Those are my 5. Because if you take those players off their team, they're just – Alabama may be okay, but Bryce Young played better this year, in my opinion, than he did last year and won the Heisman. So why do voters think that just because you lose a game towards the end of the year, you're out of the running? I don't get that.
Well, this voter didn't think that. So I guess if I can't talk about my vote, fine, but my 1 and 2 guys lost. And they so you can read into that whatever you want, and they lost this weekend. But Caleb Williams was phenomenal. He was hurt the other night, ran for a first down, dragging his leg down the field, evaded a pass rush with the leg injury and a guy in his face about to kill him, and made an incredible throw. The kid is super talented and had a phenomenal year. I mean, he threw for 37 and 5, I think, or something. I mean, I don't know, man. And then Duggan is unreal, just a, iron will competitor. And look what that team did. I mean, he's a 5th-year guy who really wasn't doing much in his career by all accounts, and then just puts this season together. So phenomenal guy. CJ Stroud was obviously great, and he didn't play last weekend. Look, the playoff system's distorted the view of college football, period, on every front. No season's successful if you don't get in the 4 now, in a lot of people's minds.
Well, yeah, and that's why I've been great this year to have the 12-team playoff. Would have been outstanding in my mind. We got John said, do you see Max Duggan hitting the portal? And if he does, who would you take between Duggan, May, or Hartman? I think he's a senior. I think he's been around. I would take Drake May. He's a
5th-year senior, but who knows?
Yeah, I would take Drake May over anybody, but we're not going to get him. So we can quit wishing on that. We had a couple questions here about basketball. John says they played better against FAMU and Stetson. How do you think they do against UConn? Well, that's a different animal rolling into the O'Connell. And it's at home, right?
It's Thursday. It's Wednesday night at 9:00. It's a late game.
Yeah, well, I don't think we match up great against UConn. I've seen them play. Boy, that's that's a different level of basketball. But you never know. Home court advantage sometimes plays into it when it comes to college hoops.
Well, I was at both the games. The last two, they won by 40 and 38. Looked impressive. Started slowly yesterday, but really turned it on. The defense was the thing yesterday. Stetson came in 16th in the nation in three-point shooting. Was going to play a similar way to FAU, which upset the Gators on November 14th, which was a stunner, 76-74. Shot lights out, ran the offense real well, and really stunned them. And they just shut Stetson down. Now, Stetson's best player, Luke Brown, was coming off an injury. And, I don't know that they were really firing on all cylinders. But they shut him down, and it was the best defensive effort Todd Golden's teams turned in. And this is coming off this really disappointing weekend at Portland, where they got blown out by West Virginia. And that was a pretty bad loss Sunday. So we'll see. I mean, this is a big opportunity for the Gators. They're 6-3. And you lose this game, and it's like your NCAA tournament resume is already looking pretty shaky. And because the SEC is going to be tough. And the Gators are picked 7th in the SEC, and I'm guessing they're probably about that. They're 5 ranked teams in the SEC, and A&M's on the fringe, or was preseason at least. And it's going to be a tough league, man. So Gators could use a big win, and that would be a big one for sure. But UConn is... They're pretty suffocating defensively, and it could be a lot of turnovers if the Gators don't have Kyle Lofton back for one, because he's missed the last 2 games.
Ruzoga State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. A few more minutes here with Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Edgar, I've got a ton of texts here on the Titan More text line regarding the portal. The portal starts officially today, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so, I know people have seen on Twitter, a lot of Gators have sent their little letters that they thank the Gator Nation and every coach they've ever had, and they're going to enter the transfer portal. So they were able to do that today. How quickly, and I know y'all haven't, whether Coach Napier and them are going to talk about it or not, but obviously the Gators have a staff that is going through all the tape, breaking down, calling, and the kids that are in the portal that we may be interested in. How quickly do you think that we're going to hear that player X from the portal that played at some other school is committed to the Gators? How quickly do you think that will all happen?
Yeah, let me know when you know, because I have no clue. This isn't – no, I'm serious. And I knew you were going to get – I was talking to Mark Long earlier because we're doing our podcast later. And I was like, Shane's going to be asking me portal questions. I don't know how this thing works. It's not like NBA free agency where you already got guys committing or signing because, of the tampering aspect of it. You're really not supposed to have been contacting players before they entered the portal, which was officially today. I'm sure that wasn't going on, right? But
what's funny?
Yeah,
sorry to hang on. It's funny that you say that because I saw an interview or people talking about before the ACC championship game. They were talking to Mac Brown, how he had stated that he had sat down with one of his starters who had been offered like 15 other universities or something like that. Okay, so that right there tells you there's tampering going on when their head coach is coming out and saying that. And he was
yes,
probably talking about Drake May, I would assume.
There's no doubt he was. And yes, that's a good point. Here's the deal, though. I don't know how quickly these things are going to happen. Do guys take visits? So I was trying to run into Scott Strickland at the game yesterday. I didn't see him. And I was going to ask him about what they were prepared for with this portal or what his sense was of it. But I wanted to know how the visits work. Are they official visits or can they be paid for by the school? I don't know how it works. Because wouldn't you want to visit a place before you commit? Or is it like sight unseen? Hey, you got to make a decision or we're moving on to the next guy? I don't know. Or is it case by case? Like if Sam Hartman, which is a name you've dropped on a number of times, wants to come to Florida. Would he want to come check out the campus and check out the graduate program that he might, join? Whatever. You would think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it
you
works.
would think.
It's a 45-day window that starts today, which would put it at January 29th. So you have there's a pretty big window here to make decisions. So these might trickle out more than just be a tidal wave, but I might be ignorant. Maybe a tidal wave, a tsunami is building on the horizon that I don't even see. I just don't know.
Yeah, Andy says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, QB McNamara from Michigan already committed to Iowa, which I did see that, which tells you there had to be some type of tampering. There had to be some type of tampering going on there, quite honestly. Van Der says, Shane, put yourself in Napier's shoes and tell us the top 3 things that you would do going into next year. I would get as I've heard and has been stated multiple times, a solidified quarterback who can run an offense, throw completions, thrown for a bunch of yards, play. I don't care what level it's at, that you've seen him on tape. That would be my number one. And then I would sign every person in the portal. Now, this is all great, but you got to remember, we ain't the only people going after these players. I would sign as many portal players that can help your football team win games next year. The waiting down the road, that's where, building for the future, I get it, but we have got to win 9 games next year. I'm a big believer in that, Edgar. However that has to happen, we've got to win 9 next year.
Hey, it's not going to be easy either. This team has a long way to go, in my opinion, man. And you didn't say what a lot of people are wondering. Are they going to do anything with the coaching staff? Are they going to change the staff structure at all? So truly, and I'm not saying he's wrong, and I'm not saying what I know is, I don't know enough. I mean, I hate to keep saying that because it just sounds like I'm lame to people listening. But do you really think a guy with running an organization of 60 people, keeping tabs on all that, should also be the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the play caller, the quarterback's coach? I don't know. It seems like a lot. And
there's a ton of coaches that do it. There's a ton of coaches that do it in America.
That do that?
Lincoln Riley. I mean, I can go on and on.
They're the OC. They're the OC and the QB's coach.
Yes. Lane coaches the quarterbacks. Lincoln coaches the quarterbacks. They call
and
the
they
plays.
Have no other help.
Coach. Well, I mean, when you call the plays, you get help from your entire staff. They're making suggestions throughout the week, putting the plan together. It's not like Billy Napier goes into a closet and puts the plan together by himself and then says, hey, okay, guys, this is what we're going to do. You talk to your O-line coach. Give me what
we can move on from that. What about special teams coach? You got an analyst coaching special teams.
Yeah, maybe there. I'm just saying from a standpoint of offense and defense, I have no problem. Special teams, that's a different animal. Is it important? Absolutely it is. Do I think he makes any changes? I don't personally.
I don't either.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think we got to go find some dogs that want to play football at a high level. That's what I think the number one priority is.
They got a lot of openings. 16 people have already left the program, have been dismissed, and the number's growing.
Right.
And that doesn't include Anthony.
I have zero problem. I think out of all the people that have gone into the portal or declared for the draft, the one they're going to miss the most is Osiris Torrance. But he deserves to go pro. Other than that, I think we'll improve our football team with whoever we sign. I firmly believe that. Because
they're going to be mining the portal hardcore, and the recruiting class is still building its 8th right now. In fact, I'm working on a story on how important year 2 is for programs. If you go back and look at the history of Florida, last couple of decades when rankings began, Ron Zook, 2003, number 1 class, 6 5-stars, Leak, Moss, Nelson, Caldwell, Chad Jackson, pretty good foundation for Urban's first title team. 06 Urban's class had Tebow, Harvin, Spikes in year 2. That's 2 right there that tell you how critical or how big a year 2 class could be. But Jimbo's number 1 class in 2011 won a title 2 years later. So this is a big class for Billy. I'm not saying he's going to get it up to number 1, but if he can get it fringe top 5, which is possible still, that would be epic for the Gators. But they definitely, the portal's changed a lot of things, and they got to mine it hard, man. And I mean, they can sell a lot, but there are also some things other people can sell that go against what the Gators are selling here, because this wasn't a great season, and it could end up another 6 and 7 year pretty easily, because Oregon State is pretty hard-nosed team, especially against the run, and you could have Kyle Engel playing quarterback. So it's going to be tough to win that game.
Yep, no doubt about it, but got to deal with it and go get some dudes in the portal. Joseph says, Shane, you're way too opinionated about everything else, big dog, to just be so okay with everything at UF right now. I don't know what that means. Yes, I'm opinionated. I've been telling you since August, this team is not very good. I knew we would not be a great throwing team. I knew we were not very good on the front 7, and we're going to go get some players, trust me, because we got to win 9 games next year. Edgar, went by way too fast. We got to get out of here, my man. I appreciate your time.
No, thanks for having me as always, Shane. We'll talk soon, man.
All right, that's Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow hotline. Hope you enjoyed today's program. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.